It all grew out of the formation of a loose federation of 36 little co-ops in the 1960s. Then our entry to the European community forced the establishment of one big unified company. That was to be Avonmore. It's now our biggest milk processor with a turnover of £265.5 million, and that means profits of £6.5 million a year. The Minister for Agriculture, Michael O'Kennedy, turned out to officially launch the co-op's birthday, cutting the ribbon at a piece of sculpture to mark its coming of age. Now not just the biggest milk processor, but also the country's biggest animal feed manufacturer and assembler of grain. Nearly 1,700 people have full or part-time work in the venture, and they heard the minister say that we were at a crossroads in the development of the industry. We had learned to live with the milk quota system. The object now was to get the maximum value out of the limited pool of raw material. But he said the economic climate was favourable for investment, as the milk processing sector in Europe was being forced to reorganise in a time of changing consumer demands. And that's a message well taken on board by the man at the helm of the co-op, Pat O'Neill.
The future now is to get products which the consumer wants within Europe. The vast majority of Irish dairy products was exported outside the community to places like Mexico, the Middle East, the Far East, and indeed the United States for the last 15 years. The orientation in the future will be in towards Europe rather than outside Europe. We will not have the growth in milk to service a number of the non-European markets. We will, though, have to have the right products to service the European market, which is a consumer market, rather than commodity markets internationally.
So you're going for added value, high-value products now?
Added value and branding, and variety, and change. One of the persistent features of branding is that products tend to change, and the product, for example, like skim milk powder, which is exported to many countries for recombination purposes for human food, doesn't change over decades. But consumer packs of product tend to be varied both in the packaging and the product themselves at 5 or 7 year intervals. So continuing investment will have to be a feature of the business in the future in new plant to bring new products on stream.
In pre-milk quota days, profit lay in getting more and more milk into the plant. But now with a quota ceiling in place, the game has changed. So have we seen the end of the days of vast investment in huge milk processing factories?
We have seen the end of that era as far as basic plant is concerned to make butter and milk powder, for example. We haven't seen the end of that era as far as added value is concerned, because when you go to add value, an enormous amount of the plant and the packaging equipment is highly expensive and becoming increasingly automated, which itself costs a lot of money. In addition to that, there is one aspect of milk production which hasn't been catered for here in the past, and that's whey. Whey is a byproduct of cheese and casein. We have probably 300 million gallons of whey in the country now, and a good deal of that whey, up to the last couple of years, has been sold for animal feeding. In the future, that whey will find a home, or the solids of that whey will find a home in human food applications, and we will have substantial investment in that area in the years ahead.
So you're going to have to get more action out of every gallon because the number of gallons is fixed?
Yes, every pound of solids that comes off the farm in a gallon of milk will have to be captured in the future and turned into a human-grade food product.
And while new product was being turned out, elsewhere planners were putting the last-minute touches to a share float to raise £5 million. It will be limited to present shareholders and to staff, but the next move will be on the stock exchange itself. Already the co-op has bought control of 2 meat plants, so does the flotation suggest more acquisitions a la Kerry co-op?
Yes, I think we would be admirers of what Kerry have done. We have a number of acquisitions in the course of negotiation at this time, and we will expect within the next year to have 2 or 3 more acquisitions under our belt.
And is that the rationale in going public?
It is, partly so. The principal rationale in going public is to create funds to diversify the product base we've got from our existing raw materials of milk and grain. In addition to that, we are going to put a number of further legs under the table, as it were, on the commercial table, by having investments in freestanding but complementary enterprises at home and overseas, which will require capital. Farmers will contribute at least £5 million in the course of our present flotation, and we'd expect that we will need probably double that over the next 3 or 4 years.
Avonmore is now in everything from traditional creamery products like butter to the new wave of upmarket cheeses, meat dishes and even desserts. The face of co-ops has changed radically in 21 years, but what does the next decade or so hold?
10 years hence, I think there won't be any successful cooperatives which do not have an international dimension. I think the dimension of co-ops in Europe in the past 20 years has been that they have stuck more or less to their own country. We have seen in the last 2 years a number of European cooperatives branching out outside their own country. We are perhaps a little bit behind Europe in that regard, but I think the successful Irish cooperatives will have a strong international dimension developed over the next 10 years.
And be in many products rather than just one, like dairy?
A wider product base, strong emphasis on marketing and branding, product development, and assets on the ground in the marketplace to underpin the